we're going to get started in a few minutes. I know everyone's trying to find a seat. Sorry we were delayed opening the doors tonight. My apologies. Does everyone have a seat? I want to wait until everyone gets a seat. There we go. Thank you. All right. All right. Let's all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to start out with our Support Staff of the Year Awards. I believe the first up is Herfil.
One sec. And everybody, I know I'm brand new. For those of you that I haven't met, I'm Dr. Hibbs. Let's have a massive round of applause for all of our support staff for making this district go.
Good evening, President Chilla, our new superintendent, Dr. Hibbs, our board, and our distinguished community. I am Dr. Natay Switzer, and I am truly honored to be standing here tonight to present our award to none other than our specialized assistant, Miss Pat Conroy. She is not able to be here with us tonight, but on her behalf, I have Miss Danielle Price, who will be accepting her award. Do you want them to come up? Do you want her to come up? Can you come up, Miss Price? Can we give her a round of applause? Miss Conroy, we know you are watching from home, and we give you well wishes and a speedy recovery. So I am pleased to announce that this year's Educational Professional of the Year, Miss Pat Conroy. Miss Pat Conroy has been in our district for 21 years. She currently works as a BSI reading assistant who has worked alongside Miss Danielle Price. She has also worked in the self-contained setting, the tag room, in-class resource, and extended school year programs. Ms. Conroy works diligently in small group instruction daily with our youngest learners, teaching them foundations and phonemic awareness support. She works patiently with these students every day to reinforce their skills. Her students enjoy spending time with her and show significant improvements on their assessments. She also prepares weekly book in a bags for our BSI students. She keeps a record of each book the students read and provide new and exciting reading materials for them to engage in. Ms. Conroy also engages our parents and provides them with parental support and weekly participation incentives. She provides our students with small prizes once students complete and their prepared assignments. This task is very time-consuming, but Ms. Conroy completes these tasks efficiently and with a smile. Mrs. Conroy has been a vital part of our accelerated reader program at Herfil Elementary, where she monitors students' progress and ensures that every student who makes their goal is recognized. She handwrites, and I say this again, handwrites, because everyone prints now, handwrites student certificates and posts their students' accomplishments all around our school. These students are rewarded with certificates and special bookmarkers. Ms. Conroy also helps the teachers administer our STAR testing assessments to our students. She guides teachers and students who need assistance when they are locked out and they often forget their password, like most of us do, including me. She prints out the STAR reports for our INRS and 504 meetings and the entire school after the testing window is closed. We are so grateful to have Mrs. Conroy as a part of our Herfield Elementary family. She has always put the needs of our students and our staff first, and she has their best interest at heart and is willing to help and provide support wherever needed. Ms. Conroy is truly a remarkable woman, and we are proud to have her as our Educational Support Person of the Year. Congratulations, Ms. Conroy.
Good evening. I'm Ginny Greer, and I have the opportunity to introduce the second elementary support personnel of the year, and that is Ramona Carey. Miss Ramona Carey, come on up. There she is. There she is. Ramona's a little worried that I'm going to be more than a minute long, so I'm going to talk fast because I have a lot to say. So I've known Ramona for 9 years, but she's been in the district for 15, right? 16. In the time I've known her, she's done almost every assistant job that exists. She was the BSI assistant for Read 180. Fast forward, she was a special ed assistant for a number of years, and then she moved on to the reading assistant for this 2 years now, right? 2 years officially. So during the pandemic, we were short-staffed and everybody's pitching in, doing everything. Ramona was the first person who realized that the reading assistant wasn't coming in that year. So she did her job, and then she went and helped the reading specialist. So that's going above and beyond. When she could have taken it easy on those days and sat back and did paperwork or other things, she jumped right in and helped the reading assistant because that's who she is. So I can list every job that this woman does, but the list is endless. I'd be here for hours and she'd be upset with me. So instead, I'm going to tell you who she is. She's the heart of Bell's School. When I tell you the first person that says, "How are you?" when they see you, the first person to recognize if you're having a bad day, the first person to grab a student's hand and say, "What's the matter, honey? I'll walk you to class." To sit with the student when they're stressed about a test. All of those things she does from her heart. She's the first one to say, "Hey, someone's having a baby," or "Somebody's sick. What can we do?" She's the first one that sees a project going on and says, "How can I help?" I am very lucky and very proud. Don't start crying on me. I'm not even going to look that way anymore. She is truly the heart of Bell's School, and we couldn't be prouder to have her represent all of us in the support staff world. So thank you, Ramona, for an excellent job. Sorry.
Hi, members of the board, community. My name is Mike DiStilio. I am the proud principal at Bunker Hill Middle School, and I'm here tonight and honored to recognize Miss Jennifer Carcillo as one of the support staffs of the year for the middle level. I'm happy to talk about Ms. Carcillo. She received a lot of nominations from staff, and then afterwards, everybody just had some wonderful things to say about Ms. Carcillo. So Ms. Carcillo currently serves as a one-to-one assistant at Bunker Hill and has been with the district since 2018. She started first at Grenlock, then to Herfield, then transferred to Orchard Valley, and thankfully her student moved to the Bunker Hill area, so came Ms. Carcillo as well. So, and we intend to keep Jen here because she's a bulldog for life. So, Jen has two daughters. She has Lucy and Tony, who are both here. Her husband, Mark, is also an employee in the district and works in our maintenance department as well. And Jen was nominated by many of her colleagues with whom she interacts with at BHMS just because she does amazing work for her student, but not only has taken initiative for all the other students that are in these classes and has taken the initiative to stay after school to offer support when needed. She has helped with instruction. She also stays after to support students in, I think I have them all, chorus, drama, chess club, and everything else. She's everywhere, and she's somebody that I rely on, and I know somebody that all the teachers rely on. Jen is a true bulldog in every sense of the word, in that she is completely altruistic. She understands the importance of serving others and gives of herself to support the needs of struggling learners. And she genuinely loves all the students and always is smiling and doing whatever is needed. So on behalf of Bunker Hill, I'm very honored and privileged to honor Ms. Carcillo. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Ms. Bear from Orchard Valley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrea Bear, and I'm the interim principal at Orchard Valley Middle School. And tonight we are honoring Miss Mary Schonauer. Ms. Schonauer began her career as a substitute teaching assistant at Grenlock Terrace Early Childhood Center in 2001. During that time, she worked with handicapped 3- and 4-year-old children. She was a great teaching assistant and helped the children to thrive and grow. In April of 2002, she became a child care assistant in the Township TOTS program. Mary was a caring and successful child care assistant. She was always very conscientious in her duties with the younger children and has demonstrated a positive and professional attitude at all times. Later, Ms. Schonauer moved to a full-time position at Orchard Valley Middle School as a one-to-one aide for a special needs student. That student began to thrive and grow while working with Ms. Schonauer. But as students come through Orchard Valley Middle School, Ms. Schonauer takes them under her wing and takes them as her own. She assists with their development academically and socially. As our students move to the high school, they become more independent and feel confident in their abilities to work independently with the help of Mrs. Schonauer for the time that they're with us. Throughout her career in Washington Township, Ms. Schonauer has worked even during the summers as an aide in the ESY summer program. She works year-round with children. Mrs. Schonauer, Mary, is an exceptional assistant and has a genuine caring attitude towards all students. She cheerfully volunteers to go above and beyond the normal school day and work with children even in their co-curricular programs after school. Ms. Schonauer is an asset to Orchard Valley Middle School, and we are so proud to support her as the Educational Support Staff Person of the Year. Thank you, Mrs. Schonauer. Very nice, thank you.
Good evening once again, everyone. And first and foremost, congratulations to all of those who are being recognized tonight. You are the backbone of our district, and we are so thankful for all that you do all the time. So another round of applause would be appropriate. So WTHS is proud to present one of our high school support staff members of the year, Mrs. Shawn Kern. Here she is. Shawn Kern is a dedicated, hardworking, proud member of our WTHS family. She works directly for two very large departments at WTHS, the World Languages, ESL, Family and Consumer Sciences Department, as well as the Visual and Performing Arts Department. She constantly goes above and beyond the physical hours worked on the job to the level of quality that she puts into every task. And I can tell you from personal experience, we had the World Languages induction, National Honor Society induction last night. Mrs. Kern was there, decorating that table, making it beautiful. She was there at the high school as I was running to get over here for this evening, there for the concert tonight to support Mr. Crigliano and the work that our students are doing, above and beyond, all the time. Once assigned a task, Mrs. Kern immediately takes ownership of it and ensures the task gets done correctly from the start. Sean is a problem solver. If she doesn't have the answer, she will make calls, she will do her own research, and she will ask others for information to get the answers that she needs in order to do a great job. Her level of professionalism is second to none, as she is considered a valued team member within the departments she serves. We received many nominations for Mrs. Kern for this award, and all of them had the same things to say: her professionalism, her dedication, and going above and beyond to keep the departments flowing and for all of our students to always feel supported. So we are appreciative of that. She's always ready to jump in. There's so many management tasks that go on, during the day and also in the evening, which is above and beyond. And these departments would truly be lost if they did not have someone of the work ethic of Sean Kern to assist us in the efficient running of these departments. So congratulations to Mrs. Kern. All right. It is equally a proud moment to present our other high school support staff member of the year, Ms. Joanne Fernandez. How you doing? So Joanne has been an assistant in our district for almost 20 years. Super impressed. I literally went up to you that period and told you, like, you're knocking it out of the park, and we're so appreciative of everything that you do for our kids. She has worked with a variety of students in our schools, in several schools over the years. In all of her assignments, she is the ultimate professional. Her students' needs are the center of everything that she does. Additionally, she works collaboratively with other assistants and always supports her teachers. We are lucky to have Joanne on our staff, and our children benefit from having her in their daily life at school. I have personally, like I said, had the opportunity to witness this, as has Special Education Supervisor Mr. Hoops, who also contributed to our words this evening. She is caring, she is helpful, and she goes out of her way to make sure that our students are receiving that ongoing, tailored support that our children deserve here at Washington Township High School and in our district. So please join me again in congratulating Ms. Joanne Fernandez. Congratulations. All right, I'm actually going to skip a little bit because I'm coming up again. We're going to do it all at one time, if that's okay. I would like to invite the Whitman principal, Mrs. DeLude, to join me. Here she is. And again, we're very excited to congratulate all of our support staff winners, but tonight as well, we are here to recognize one very special person from the operations department. His name is Dave Roth, and I like to call him, for those of you who like music, David Lee Roth. Here he is. Come on down, Dave. I really miss getting on the loudspeaker and saying that, Dave, in front of the whole school. David Lee Roth, I need you. I really do. So Dave was hired in July of 2019 as a second shift custodian at Whitman Elementary School. His quiet demeanor, his hard work, his willingness to work day shift whenever needed. Dave has become one of the go-to custodians when overtime is needed for boiler coverage, for weekend events, for Parks and Rec, basketball as well. What I like most about Dave is his work ethic. He gets the job done. There's nothing to be asked. It's automatic. The school was clean, the school was organized, and he is there for the teachers. And we have several of our teachers here this evening as well. One who's taking a picture of you right now. Dave, look that way. Mrs. Fox. But in all seriousness, you're always there. and you're always doing things for the kids, and you really keep them at the best interest of your heart. So we really do appreciate that, and we acknowledge you because your work, as Jerry Finkel said as well, always exceeds and goes above and beyond what is expected. So thank you. Mrs. DeLude's going to continue.
So I bet you didn't think that anyone noticed all that you do. Well, we do. Your supervisor, Mr. Jerry Finkel, who oversees the night custodians and who prepared many of these kind words tonight, the teachers, myself, the secretaries, and the entire support staff all notice the hard work and positive attitude that you bring to Whitman Elementary School every single day. That's why it is important that we take the moment to say thank you, Dave. And thank you to everyone being recognized here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Food service. We got Maria coming up.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jennifer Mullen. I'm food service manager, and I am honored to recognize our food service employee of the year, Maria Mazuka. I know. I think she has the biggest fan club here. I didn't know why they were here in the beginning, and I was like, oh my goodness, they're here for Maria. They love her. They love her. Cindy too. And we love her, yes, and for Cindy. And I'm here to just say thank you from all the food service staff and all of your other lunch people. And this is a little bit about Maria, who I've known for a very, very, very long time. Maria has worked for food service since 2013. She has always been an exemplary employee with her dedication to the department, hard work ethic, no matter the task, while always having the student's best interest in mind. In October 2021, Maria was promoted to cook at Grenlock. She took on this challenge with a smile and strong commitment to the preschoolers. The unusual part of Maria's story is that Grenlock has no kitchen. Maria works out of the basement of the red building with only items that are prepackaged, from pizza kits to grilled cheese to mango wango juice. Everything must be prepackaged. Maria executes the cook's duties with a small oven, one warmer, a refrigerator. We now have 2 freezers, and just chest freezers, along with delivering all the meals to the classrooms. Keeping her student population in mind, Maria came up with the idea of having another kitchen prep vegetables for her so her students would get to have celery sticks or cucumber slices. She picks up these items on her own every week. She is always thinking of her students. Grenlock is obviously a tight-knit school, and Maria is part of that community. She is committed to our department while keeping the preschoolers on her mind. Congratulations, Maria. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Suzanne O'Donnell, Transportation Manager. Our Support Staff Person of the Year is Doug Frazier. As you all know, our Transportation Department has had a tough few years. Everyone knows that we're shorthanded, and all the drivers and aides are stressed out. We ask a lot of everyone on a daily basis, and I need to thank the entire department for doing an exceptional job during these exceptional times. Picking a driver of the year was not an easy task when we ask so much of everyone. Blanche and I kept coming back to one name, Doug Frazier. Doug was retired from TWA back in 2000 and was looking for a part-time job. That was over 20 years ago. And he started subbing during the 2000-2001 school year with me. We started out at the same time. Doug was hired full-time in 2003. He comes to work every day, and he does his job. We, as you know, we're always doubling up, double running, getting the job done to what we have to do. Doug comes in with a smile. What do you need me to do? Double up your high school, Doug. Okay. I think it's every day now, right? It's just, he comes in every day. He's the most pleasant person. He never complains. He's never grumpy. He's just a pleasure to be with. He comes in and he always puts a smile on our faces. No matter what's going on, he's just solid. To show you how committed Doug is, I checked his attendance. Doug currently has 162 sick days and 61 accumulated personal. Don't get any idea, start using it. Not many people here have that kind of build-up time, okay? Doug also supports all the athletic teams. He comes into me every year, print me out all the schedules. He goes to a lot of the games. He drives a lot of the teams. A couple years ago, I got a call from athletics. Softball team was on a tear. They were going into playoffs. They had to have Doug. He was the good luck charm. No matter what, Doug has to be the driver. I'm like, I'll make it work. So Doug drove them that whole year. Doug's one of the most even-keeled, even easygoing persons you'll ever want to meet. He just is a pleasure. Unless he has to do his safe schools training. Doug and computers are not good friends, and we'll just leave it at that. I can't remember a time I've never had a negative comment about this man. I have parents call me every year, please tell me Doug will be my child's driver next year. He's just a great job. He does an exceptional job. He respects everybody. Everybody respects him. He's just a good all-around person, and I am so honored and pleased that Doug Frazier is our support staff person of the year.
Good evening, everybody from the board, and thank you. Dave DuBarry, please come forward. I'd like to start off by saying that I met Dave 20 years ago at the Cherry Tree Crossing Shopping Center. Some strange guy pulled up to me in the parking lot, and I was like, what's this guy want? It was Dave, he wanted a job. And that's 20 years ago. He's worked for me on and off for 20 years. He worked on Sunday day shift, started out on Sunday day shift, then he worked Saturday day shift, and then he worked weeknights. How many years? Can't remember. I can't either. We're both so old we can't remember how many years. Dave was a sergeant in the New York City Police Department. I do have trouble with his accent and Jane's. I don't understand them half the time when they speak because they're both New Yorkers. And he was on the department there for 20 years. He does outstanding reports. He stays on top of door security at the high school and every other school. And I already said Jane works at Herfville in the cafeteria 8, and I'm sure she's a nurturing grandmom there, or mom. Mr. Anderson and Mr. Muselli have constantly complimented him on his performance of duty, and they constantly tell me what a great job he does. He's out there until midnight every night during the week alone, which isn't pleasant, and he does a fantastic job, and appreciate everything you've done for us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Zakowski, one of the assistant principals at Washington Township High School, and I have the honor to speak tonight on behalf of the best administrative assistant in the world, Mrs. Andy Stott. Andy had no idea that I was speaking tonight. She wasn't even sure if I was, are you coming tonight? Oh, yeah, I'll be there tonight. So this is my first year working with Andy, and honestly, if it wasn't for her, I don't know if I would have made it through my first year as an administrator. She is simply fantastic in every way. From our first day working together, Andy has been kind, helpful, organized, honest, trustworthy, and supportive. She's willing to do whatever is needed to get the job done, and then some. While Andy certainly has a mastery of how we've always done things in the past, she is more than willing to help us devise ways to make procedures more efficient and streamlined. But it's not just these tasks that make Andy special. Every single day, students pop into our office to say hi to her. Staff comes in, talks about things that are going on with them, asks for advice, asks for help. She is obviously someone on the 9-10 side, and coming from the 11-12 side, I didn't get to know Andy that well until this year. But coming and spending every day on that side, it is so obvious that she is the heartbeat of that wing and what happens on that side of the building. She does it all with a smile on her face and a nice hearty laugh you can hear a mile away. Andy Stott simply makes WTHS a better place for students, staff, and our community. I feel blessed to have her in the office with me, but even more honored to call her my friend, Mrs. Andy Stott.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and shout out to Maria from Grenlock. I'm Christina Cox, the principal at Grenlock. It is my utmost privilege and honor to introduce Cindy Haas as Secretary of the Year. Cindy has worked at Grenlock as the principal's secretary for the last 7 years. Cindy exemplifies a model employee. She is efficient, a team player, and organized. I could go on and on about the amazing things that Cindy does within her job description, but what makes Cindy extraordinary is what she does outside of her job description. Cindy has ingrained herself in Grenlock's culture beyond being a secretary. As many of you may or may not know, at Grenlock, we do not have a traditional bell. Instead, we play the live xylophone. Well, Cindy is the xylophone player of Grenlock. In the main office at Grenlock, we are pretty big Star Wars and Harry Potter fans. So she made it her job to learn both songs on the xylophone. Yes. This year, Cindy also took on the role of Grady T, our dog mascot. She occasionally will greet the children in costume at arrival and attends all of the before-school Grenlock Gardner Awards as Grady T. This year, she attended our night event for the Snowball Dance, which was held at the high school, as Grady T, and spent hours dancing with the children in full costume. When the building is short-staffed, Cindy is one of the first to offer to cover a classroom for lunch. Every morning, Cindy stands out front for bus duty and greets all of the children. Cindy attends the after-school events, cares about the facility, and volunteers her time to tend to the garden, because we're the Grenlock Gardeners, out front of the school. Cindy is the absolute perfect pick for this nomination and deserves so much more than this even embodies. Thank you for caring so deeply about the school, the staff, and the students, and for truly personifying the word team player. Congratulations.
All right, one more round for everyone. Congratulations. have everyone go out into that vestibule so we can get a picture? Sorry, we'll take like a quick 2-minute recess. Okay.
Any motion or not? No, good.
Just for a point of order, we do have yellow cards on the table in the corner over there. If you'd like to speak, we have 2 opportunities to speak. So they're right over there. At this time, we would like to acknowledge there's a member of the Washington Township family that has passed, Miss Diane Rainey. So if I could just ask everyone to stand for a moment of silence, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks. Turn it over to you, Kathy. Carrie, please.
Thank you. Washington Township High School will welcome 6 Washington Township High School graduates who have served or are currently serving in the United States Armed Forces into the school's Military Hall of Honor during an induction ceremony on Wednesday, May 31st at 6 p.m. in the school's Republic Bank Performing Arts Center. This patriotic event includes the participation of district administration, Board of Education members, local veterans groups, the WTHS, Air Force, Junior ROTC cadets, and WTHS student musicians. The ceremony also will include the posthumous dedication and renaming of the hall to the Robert and Eileen Abbott Military Hall of Honor, honoring former Washington Township Board of Education member and proud U.S. Army veteran Robert Abbott and his wife Eileen Abbott, who joined him as a trustee of the WTHS Military Hall of Fame at its inception. Robert Abbott was inducted as an honorary member into the Hall of Honor in 2019. There are a few appointments left for the American Red Cross Blood Drive tomorrow, Wednesday, May 17th from noon to 5, right here in the Central Administration Building. Interested donors can register online by visiting redcrossblood.org and using the sponsor code Washington Township School. The Washington Township Education Foundation is very excited for its annual Golf Classic and is still accepting golfers as well as sponsors. The event is scheduled for Monday, June 26th at the White Oaks Country Club. It's not too late to reach out to WTEF President Charlie Dowd at 856-589-6644, extension 6581 if you are interested in golfing or providing a sponsorship. Another friendly reminder that kindergarten registration for our 23-24 kindergarten class is open, and we encourage you to register now if you have not done so already. You can visit us at WTPS.org and click on the yellow Student Registration button and complete the process completely online, or if you prefer, you're welcome to make an appointment with our registrar, Matt Piscina, who is more than happy to help. And finally, because it bears repeating, another very warm and very proud congratulations to all of our Township Support Staff Professionals of the Year.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the correspondence as listed?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. I have a question. Yeah. Sure.
I'm just wondering, we have gotten a lot of correspondence where people write to all the board members, and I'm just wondering, is somebody getting back to the people? I know we don't individually respond, but is there somebody answering the people that are writing to us? And if so, can we get a copy of that when that happens?
Yeah, want me to take it? Sure, happy to do so. In my 2 weeks here, we just got an anonymous letter that came in late today that didn't have a return person. But I'm happy if something comes in addressed to the board, I'm happy to send my correspondence back to the entire board. Sure.
Yeah, I'm talking about the correspondence that we're getting. We get correspondence from the community.
Sure.
All the board members, you're included a lot of times, sometimes you're not. And some of the questions seem pretty relevant, and I'm just wondering, is there anybody in particular that's answering? And if they're being answered, can the board at least know what the answer is?
Turn your mic on, Connie.
It's not working. We still haven't gotten the parts yet?
Okay. Fine.
Yes, I'm happy. If I'm copying on an email, it might take me a minute to get to it, but everybody's very important.
Your mic.
Is that on? How about that? If I'm copying on an email, I do my very best to get back in a timely fashion. Timely fashion the last couple of days has not been right away because I've just been buried. But if there's a question that comes in that copies board members, I think it's totally reasonable for you to see my response. So sure.
Just a comment as well. If we do receive correspondence, for instance, if just one of us gets an email, it should be forwarded, copy in Elaine, and ask her to forward to the full board and be listed as correspondence. So, thank you. Anything else on correspondence?
Not on correspondence. I
Yep.
just had something on the disciplinary, or letters of discipline. I was happy to see like a downward trend for once. We're down 20% year over year. So let's keep that trend going.
Do our best.
Good job, Eric.
Yeah, I can't take credit for that.
2 weeks on the job, my man.
Good job, guys.
I don't think I did minutes yet. I think I lost track. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as listed?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, old business. Anyone with old business? Yep.
I have some old business. I just want to follow up. Mrs. Wechter, I guess back in April, I had asked you about the 1220 bill list, that the format was different than any other format that we get, and you were going to get back to me as to why.
We discussed that at a business committee meeting, so if there's further questions, you can just give me a call tomorrow.
Also, I guess back in April and May, I had asked about what the 1% was the health benefits cost. It did go up 11%, and I guess each time I bring it up, you say you get back to me, but I haven't gotten any response.
Or we're gonna have a big portion of our June business committee meeting for health benefits, to discuss health benefits with our broker.
But I mean, the 1%, I mean, we know what the health benefits was budgeted for. So what I was asking, what is 1%?
That it'll be part of the presentation in June.
Old business, I had brought up, and it's interesting, Adam, you were here the last time I brought it up. Where are we with the contracts with the WTEA and the support staff? I think, Janine, you jumped in back in April and said we were going to get it in a week. I haven't heard anything.
Ms. Baker, as you know, my partner Ari Schneider, who's not here this evening, handles the negotiations with the WTEA. Had I known you were going to ask the question, I certainly would have gotten information so that we could have presented it to you tonight. But I certainly will nevertheless ask my partner Ari Schneider when he returns to New Jersey to provide an update for you.
Okay, just an aside, I did ask Carol and Ari today. You guys might have been busy and not gotten back to me, but I did raise that question prior to now.
Okay, thank you.
I also have a question on old business. Just so that the people in the audience and people who are watching, to make sure I try to be as transparent as possible. It was brought to the school board president, Mrs. Chilla's attention, that someone out in the community at a community affair had mentioned that during the course of our last meeting, the person was texting me about the National Honor Society, and as a result of that, wanted me not to vote for that last meeting. I did not vote for the National Honor Society because I wanted more information. There was nobody that texted me at all about that. So I just wanted to put that out there to let everyone know. The other thing, the last thing is on policy. I know that we have a policy where we do RFPs every 3 years. Some districts, some school boards have policies like that, some do not. All our professional people are 1 year. Their contract is for 1 year. I'm just throwing out, and maybe other board members could chime in, I'm not saying that we have to go out to RFP every year for everybody, but I think we should at least have a conversation whether or not we want to do that or not. What happened was there were things that were assumed that since we have a 3-year in our policy, that we're just going to roll that over. But there was never anything brought to our attention as to have a discussion on that. And I just like to put that out there because I think, you know, we have new board members that come and go, and just to assume we're just going to roll it over. As a matter of fact, I would also like to point out that although we have 3 years for all our professional groups, because we had the circumstances that we had with the attorneys, I would just like to say that, and I'm on policy, if we look at that the attorneys always should be done every year. And one of the things that I know was new to me, we have 4 new board members that probably aren't aware of this. When we went out to RFP, as a result of hiring the attorneys that we did, we cut our costs down substantially. And we just rolled it over, and we would have never realized the savings that we saved that we went out to RFP. So I just want to throw that out there. It's just a thought that I have, that because of the situation that we encountered, that should be one of the things that we do every year.
Connie, I just want to add to that. We did discuss that if there is any of our people that we hire, that we can look at it every year. If there is something that we're not happy with, we can look at it. Even though it's a 3-year, every year we can look at it. There's not any problem without looking at something and addressing something if we're not happy with how it's going. Just wanted to add that. We did discuss that.
Yep, I thought that we were going to look at it for this year, even though we're too late on getting them out. Most schools have them out in March, and like you indicated, Connie, we weren't asked about sending them out. I thought we discussed that we were even going to ask for a couple of the RFPs to go out for this year.
Yeah, that is correct, and I actually asked, what is the timeline on that? And basically, it was supposed to be back in May. So, yeah, I thought so too, but now it looks like we're not.
Scott, I'm going to have you comment.
Yeah,
For
I'll
business,
comment, and people say they can't hear me, so I'll make sure I talk into the mic. And I'll reiterate, maybe because my mic wasn't working last week, everybody forgot what I said last week, so I'll say it again. We, in business, talk through the schedule, that we do them on a 3-year cycle. That's our policy. That we can, if we have a concern with a particular provider, we can raise that concern and we can do it more often. But to make this better going forward, I can't address what happened in the past. I can't fix what happened in the past. We can fix the policy going forward. What we talked about in business, and I talked about last week, was that in November of every year, we as the board would discuss all the professional services firms. If we had a concern, that would give us adequate time to do an RFP and get more bids in. We also discussed, because of the 3-year cycle and off cycle with some of them, like the attorneys, we have a lot coming up 3 years out. So we were going to accelerate two of the firms for this coming year, not in this July, but next year, namely the engineering firm and the auditor. And we picked them also just because there was only one bid that came in, and we're hoping that we start getting more bids as well. And I think that's also something that we have to look in business, is what we can do to be getting more bids in so we get more competitive. You know, we can talk about it in business, whether we want to do the attorneys every year. I myself think I wouldn't want to do that. We spent several nights, long hours here interviewing all those firms, and it's a 0% increase, you know, and we've decreased cost there, but we'll look at it again in 3 years. If in November we decide that that's one that we want to revisit as a board, we can put it on the agenda to go RFP.
And we have to remember, as far as with attorney, if we switch, we have to do all the research and all the time and money spent to transfer over cases, for them to catch up. I mean, and at any time, if we have a concern, I mean, I've gone to our presidents, if I have a concern with any of our professional groups, I have a question, I go to them, and I express my concerns as we go along. So it wouldn't make sense just to wait. Just if there's a concern, bring it up so we can talk about it. And if we have to go out sooner, we go out sooner.
So I can assume that we're not looking to go out for any RFPs for this year.
We are not, and you know, we just had this. We're gonna vote on that, right? The next thing on the agenda tonight is the renewal of certain contracts. We just had executive to discuss the professional service firms. If anybody had a concern that would rise to the level that we needed to RFP them, we should have voiced that in executive, but nobody did. So my assumption is we're not RFPing.
I'm not sure about that. I think we did, in our executive session, voice some concerns about sending them out, sending for RFPs. I think
You objected, you raised concerns about the process, right?
No,
Not about any particular firm.
I was concerned about that, but I was also concerned whether we were going to send out for any RFPs this year. And I thought a couple of board members wanted to do that. I personally would do it. I don't care how much time it takes to review them. I think that we missed the boat this year. We should have been more informed about when they go out. Most schools do it in March, and here it is May. I know it's a lot of work to go through it, but if the board don't want to do it, that's fine too, but I would be a vote to do it.
Adam, could he make a motion to do that if he wanted to?
Yes, they could certainly make a motion if that's what Mr. Russell
I
does.
think you just go around the board and see if there's anyone that wants to go out for RFPs.
You would make a motion and we would take a vote.
Make a motion.
So, just real quick, before you make a motion,
Yeah.
we are holding item number 56 tonight. I just want to make that clear,
Okay.
because that's going to go back in for discussion. Correct. So I just want to throw that out there, but feel free to make a motion for whatever you like. But we are holding 56.
Okay, make a motion, is there, if there's anyone who wants to go out for RFPs this year?
You want to make, hold on, where's it going?
He's making a motion to see if anyone would like to go out for RFPs this year for what?
We're talking all RFPs?
No, not all of them.
Can I bring something up about pulling number 56?
Sure.
We pull, like, what's the contingency plan? So say we pull it, we don't like the presentation, what happens after that?
It's too late. It's too late. How you gonna get?
The question is, if the broker gets pulled, if the broker, is a broker, right? That's the number?
Broker.
If the broker's pulled and we don't like the presentation that would come when we discussed, what would the contingency plan be? We'd have to figure out a way to extend the
That's a fair
broker
question.
until we revisit the process and gained a new broker.
The one thing, though, that would be a problem would be if the broker's contract ends on June 30th and it's not renewed, anything that the broker, and full disclosure, I don't know what the broker has going on for the district. I don't know what irons are in the fire, if you will. But after June 30th, which I'm assuming the contract is the contract end date, I don't know that to be accurate, but let's take for just a moment hypothetically, if the end date of the contract is June 30th, and if the broker is not renewed, in theory, everything would stop as of July 1 with regard to anything that that broker was working on, because they'd no longer be your broker. So you would have essentially a period of time without a broker unless and until a new one is found. I would just caution the board that before that action be taken, that the broker be contacted to find out what the status is of any open matters or issues, so that the board could make a fully informed decision as to, you know, what the implications would be if the contract was not renewed and a successor contract was not in place with another broker. Just using that as an example.
I think part of what the concern was too, last year we had a 4% rise in health benefits, this year 11%. And the question is, you know, are we making sure that we're doing what we need to do to keep costs down?
So just real quick comment on that, because it was discussed previously, that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's coming from the carrier or broker. It could be a product of claims. So we don't know what that is. With a presentation, we would be able to dive into it. Am I correct? Yeah, we would be able to dive into it. So at this point, though, from the board, do you want to hold item number 56, Dave, to your point, or do you want to put it out to vote?
Well, I withdraw my request because it's obvious no one wants to do it, so.
So you're withdrawing your motion?
Yeah, there's no sense of taking a vote. I can read the
Aren't we meeting with
cards.
the broker to get more information anyway?
We are, but as Adam just described, there could be a gap or an issue if we decided to do that. We don't know the implications, right? So, am I making a motion to put it back on, or no? I mean, I don't.
So, Mr. Ross withdrew
Still
his
on,
motion,
right?
so my thought is that there's nothing on the table as of this moment.
Right, but my only question is that in executive session, we did talk about holding an item. So I want to make sure that I'm transparent with the board. I'm now going to put it on. I mean, it sounds like that's where the conversation's going. Yes, no?
Well, if we were to wait until we have the presentation from the broker in June, we're talking about, what was it, June 1st?
Yeah.
Yeah, that we still would have adequate time to renew them, right? Renew the contract.
I think so.
In June.
It's going to be a special meeting, right?
And
So
then if we're not, then look into the plan moving forward.
I think we should wait.
Okay.
And see
So we're
what
going
the
to keep it as
presentation
is. Motion's withdrawn, we're keeping it as is.
Correct.
Yes? Okay. All right. Connie, any more old business from you?
Good, thank you.
All right. Old business from anyone else?
So, yeah, just have one.
Yep.
I mean, I just want to be clear, I mean, Kathleen's not here tonight, but when she gets back, because she leads policy committee, right? We will work together to draft a change to that policy to reflect what we talked about, that we'll, in November, revisit and discuss each professional services firm. So we'll draft that up so that hopefully we can have a first reading either by the, regular session or the following work session. Okay?
All right. Nothing else for old business?
I got one.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Is there a QR code yet for board docs back there, or no?
I think that's on me. Is it there? Oh, atta girl, Kath. Good.
Right on.
Woo!
Does it work?
Good job, Kath. I workflowed that.
Thank you.
All right. So Dave, do you want to talk about the QR code since this was your idea to everyone?
Anybody that missed it previously, reviewing our agenda and everything on, it's pretty difficult to get to from our website, so the idea was to put a QR code on the table back there that as the public walked in, you could scan it on your phone, and it'll bring you right there instead of trying to navigate through the website to find it. I don't know that it's perfect, but it's a start to making it easier to see.
Great idea.
Thank you.
Very good.
We're going green, let's make it.
Yes. Any other old business? Okay. I'd like to read a statement on behalf of the board before I open it up to public comment. The Washington Township Board of Education has received concerning reports from parents regarding their children's interactions with certain staff members. While we are not at liberty to discuss personnel and student matters in this public forum, all parents and students can and should rest assured that the board takes all parental concerns very seriously and thoroughly investigates all such matters. Motion to open to public? Ms. Connie DeLeon?
My name is Connie DeLeon, and I have 2 children in the school district. My son is a junior at the high school, and my daughter goes to Wedgwood. My 6-year-old special needs daughter is in room 14 at Wedgwood, the kindergarten first grade self-contained learning and language disability classroom. My daughter is developmentally delayed with her most significant delay in speech. She is able to use 2 to 3 word phrases, but cannot always communicate her needs, wants, and emotions clearly. She also requires assistance and constant prompting with doing schoolwork, staying on task, toileting, and feeding. I have sat through many meetings and have written numerous detailed emails advocating for her to ensure she can be in a safe, nurturing, and trusting environment. This year, I've had to deal with many unnecessary issues, including asking for my daughter's basic needs to be met. I find it very concerning that she's had to sit with a diaper so saturated that it leaked through her pants on multiple occasions. Not only is this unsanitary, but it's also embarrassing for her. This should not be an issue again during the last weeks of the school year. My daughter also has a seizure disorder with a seizure action plan. I discovered this school year that her bus driver was never made aware of this. Why include protocols on an IEP if they're not communicated properly to the appropriate staff? Finally, I'd like to address the abuse and mistreatment that the children of room 14 had to endure. Incidents were reported to school administration and no action was taken. Any suspicion of abuse or mistreatment should have been investigated immediately. It is shameful that one's reputation is more important than the safety of our children. I want to thank you, Dr. Hibbs, for meeting with me and the other parents regarding the situation. And also thank you to Mrs. Chilla for lending her ear and listening to all of my concerns. I'm a lifelong resident of Washington Township and was proud to have my children in the school district. But now I am heartbroken and disappointed on how Wedgwood, the school administration, and the special education department failed to meet the needs of my daughter and the children in her class. Where is the excellence through equity, engagement, and environment? To the special education department and Wedgwood Elementary, listen to the support staff and provide more resources. Do better, stop cutting corners. These are our children.
Thank you. Justina Canning?
Hello. I'm going to try not to let my emotions take over. My family and I are currently temporary residents living with my parents in Washington Township. We transferred our son from Deptford School District. One of the first things I said to my husband during this move was, at least we know he's going to go to a good school district. Our son is going to Wedgwood, and he is on the spectrum and has speech apraxia. The issues we ran into began day one at kindergarten orientation. I quickly realized that they did not have him in the right placement. I talked to the teacher, and she didn't even know that he had an IEP. We spoke to the principal, and he assured us that he would get this resolved. The next day, we found out he could not start on the first day of school as they were not prepared for him, even though I sent over his IEP when he transferred. The following week, when he was able to start school and was placed in a kindergarten first grade self-contained class. Once again, the principal assured us that our son was going to get what was on his IEP, which included a one-on-one aide and in the general education classroom. He said he had put out an ad that day for an aide for him. We dropped him off that day, feeling confident that he was going to get everything he needed to succeed for the school year. That feeling did not last long. His original IEP with Deptford from the end of the school year would have him spend 1 month transition period in a self-contained class to get used to the full day of school, before transitioning into the general education program with a one-on-one aide. Deptford had told us he was ready to be placed with general ed. When we went for his IEP meeting here, 1 month into the school year, we were told, nope, he's not ready. and he doesn't need a one-on-one aide. We were told that he would become too dependent on a one-on-one aide and not be able to succeed independently. After the meeting, I sent an email questioning what would happen with a shared aide and was basically ignored. Since then, our son has fallen behind. A kid who was on the right track in another school district is now behind, and we're trying to figure out how to get him caught up with his peers. Fast forward to last week, and what we learned was really going on in that classroom. And to say that we're infuriated would be an understatement. We sent our child to this school because we believed that they would help him grow and get him to where he needs to be academically. Meanwhile, he is falling behind and is terrified to go to school because he was mentally, physically, and emotionally abused by his teacher. Sorry. We teach our children that when we send them to school, they are safe. The schools do an anti-bullying program. There's a police presence. All the doors are locked, and the steps are in place to protect them from the outside world. But what are we doing to protect them if the person who is bullying them and hurting them is on the inside? The person that we as parents tell them to listen to and trust. We put our child's well-being in the hands of the principal and the teacher, and now we have to pick up the broken pieces and put them back together. These children should not be falling behind and tossed to the side because they are in special education. These children deserve better, and we as parents demand better. We are their voice, and we will always advocate for them.
Thank you, Ms. Canning. Allison Welsh.
Today I stand before you as a concerned parent and a passionate advocate for the rights of special needs children. My name is Allison Welsh, and my words carry the weight of a mother who has witnessed the mistreatment and abuse occurring within the walls of our beloved Wedgwood Elementary. My 6-year-old son is in kindergarten at Wedgwood Elementary. He is in room 14, the kindergarten and first grade learning and language disability classroom. He has a communication impairment, which means his expressive and receptive language skills are significantly below average compared to other typical peers his age. As a parent of a special needs child and as a speech-language pathologist who works in a public school, I expected the teachers and administrators in our township to advocate for my son and keep his best interest at heart. I would like to begin by thanking Dr. Hibbs for meeting with me to address the current situation happening in my child's classroom, although he was not acting superintendent at the time of the incident. I appreciate the meeting, and I do know that things are now being investigated by the district. But I also feel that it is important for the public to understand what is happening in our schools. I have been concerned for my child after learning about abuse and mistreatment occurring in his classroom. During this time, he has had difficulty sleeping, experienced nightmares, and has pleaded with me on not wanting to go to school in the morning. I was attributing these behaviors to his disability. However, after learning he has been confined in a gym mat reportedly over an hour, multiple times, simply for crying and not completing his work, I realize why he is scared to go to school. And even more, I am now scared to send him to school after learning that multiple administrators were made aware of this abuse and did nothing to help my son. This was not the first time the current standards for the treatment and education of special needs children at Wedgwood Elementary failed my child. I also have concerns on how special education department functions in this district. I had to be a detective at the beginning of the school year to find out my son's class was not being included in all non-academic areas, which was in violation of special education law for replacement in the least restrictive environment. His class was being segregated from the rest of the grade level during recess to the school's courtyard that has no playground. I was never notified that this was happening or why. I also discovered that his class was not being included in the general education classes for specials. His class was also sitting at their own table, separate from general education students at lunch. It was only fixed when I called an IEP meeting to advocate for my son and discuss why the school was out of compliance. It deeply saddens and concerns me that such misconduct and disregard for the safety and well-being of the students have been allowed to persist within our school system. As a parent, I am distraught and feel a strong obligation to shed light on this matter, as the safety and emotional welfare of our children should always be the highest priority. I believe it is crucial for the community to be made aware of these alarming incidents, as they not only affect the students directly involved, but also raise concerns about the overall culture of the school and the protection of vulnerable students within the special education program.
Thank you. Jessica Robinson.
I'm actually going to wait and speak at another meeting because all these moms, I just feel like their story needs to be heard right now.
Dr. Francesca Contino Jackson.
Hello, my name is Dr. Francesca Contino Jackson, and I am the 910 SAC at Washington Township High School. After last week's board meeting, I wanted to clarify a few things that were said. It was stated that student assistance coordinators are not counselors. That is not accurate information. Student assistance coordinators get their school counseling certification, and then we further our education with the student assistance coordinator certificate, making us counselors. In my case, I also received my master's in mental health counseling, making me a certified therapist. I also have my PhD in addiction psychology. Once again, I am a counselor. Additionally, it was stated that our school counselors are duly licensed. At the high school, out of the 12 counselors, 2 are duly licensed, one of them being me. Last week, a community member spoke about letters needing to be changed. Dr. Hibbs said that letters did not need to be changed. Well, mine does. Ms. Grimaldi, Mr. Anderson told me my job was being eliminated. They both told me it wasn't my job performance. Mr. Anderson even told me how great I am at my job, and he knows I go above and beyond for my students. Then I was handed my non-renewal letter. It was stated that at last week's meeting that there would be 2 functioning SACs like this year into next year. So I'm confused as to why my letter says non-renewal when there will be 2 SACs next year, and I was told the position was being eliminated. On 5/2/23, I emailed Ms. Grimaldi, Mr. Anderson, and Dr. Hibbs seeking clarity on my letter, and as to right now, I still have not received any email from the 3 of them. My second point that I would like to clarify is my observations do not align with a non-renewal. To date, I have not had my summative, which was due on 3/31 as a non-renewal, as a non-tenured. So why the non-renewal note? Our school is in desperate need of mental health professionals. I am a certified school counselor, student assistance coordinator, therapist, and received my PhD in addiction psychology. I have been helping students at Washington Township High School, not to mention the 3 middle schools, all year. My service is essential, and the rapport I have built and continue to build with my students should be a factor taken in consideration to keep me for my current position. Many of the 9th and 10th grade students have not had this type of rapport for a few years, since the middle school SACs were eliminated years ago. Every day, I see between 10 to 15 students while also conducting multiple groups and having a lunch bunch of 10 or more students in my office during lunch. I have been called to the middle school many times for drug counseling and bullying issues. This year, I provided the high school with numerous free presenters for the students, was the anti-bullying specialist for over 1,000 students, led No Place for Hate activities, was on the MTSS and INRS committees, ran several groups for student support, provided drug counseling for students who tested positive, ran classroom lessons, and connected families with resources within the community. When it comes to SACs, being a part of the socio-emotional counseling, if you go on nj.gov website, download the mental health resource guide, page 216, it speaks about the wellness team in a school, and it labels SACs. According to the National Alliance on Mental Health, according to the CDC, youth and young adults experience a unique set of challenges during COVID. Isolation from peers, adapting to virtual sets of challenges during COVID-19 pandemic, isolation from peers, adapting to virtual learning, and changes to sleep habits and other routines. We must recognize the significant impact of these experiences on young people's mental health and the importance of providing the education and support that they need. I've been giving both the mental health and substance abuse counseling support since the beginning of the school year. I have built the rapport with our students as well as parents of this community. Consistency and building connections are key in helping our students and families. I am willing and able to continue serving the students in our schools to continue making Washington Township School District a better place. Thanks.
Thank you. Matthew Bury.
Hello, my name is Matthew Beery, and I am part of Bunker Hill Middle School. And I'm here to follow up with a question I had a few months back. I know some of you were not here when I asked that, so I want to re-follow up. So I want to get basketball courts at Bunker Hill because I find it like unfair how like almost all the other schools have like basketball nets like in the ground, not like portable, like in the ground basketball nets, and I want to get at Bunker Hill too. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. No pressure, Dr. Hibbs. I'll punt that to you. He's going to respond at the end. See, I was trying to put him on the spot right away on that one. All right. Melissa McNally.
Hello. Congratulations to everyone who received their awards tonight. I'll try to be brief. Melissa McNally, Herfield School, teacher and building rep. I would like to reflect back to February when we first started vocalizing concerns from Herfield staff members regarding space and programming. At that time, we had already been voicing these concerns to our administrators outside of board meetings. At the March board meeting, I advocated for the board and admin to please find a viable solution, as imperfect as it may be, for us to make any small improvements on our current situation. We were hoping for any degree of relief so that we did not have to endure the struggles we are having through June. We expressed that our space did not match our programming. Now in May, it is clear that we will endure that struggle through June. Herfield School has a higher student population than Chestnut Ridge Middle School. We have the smallest square footage in the district and the largest number of students at any of our elementary schools. Despite our many requests and meeting and speeches, we have still not ascertained answers to how this problem will be resolved for September. I now stand before a brand new superintendent and ask of you what those before you have not produced, which would be answers. I know that these answers will not come today, but I do ask that they come with some urgency. I do appreciate that you have been so involved and have been meeting with us prior even to your start. I recognize that things don't happen overnight, but I just want to keep it on everyone's radar. I know there's a lot of things going on and so much happening, and I just don't want this to fall to the wayside. What I would like to ask today is that if there are any updates to the status of the modular unit. Is it fair to assume that it will not be here in September? I think I saw on the agenda that there was just an approval bid for Herfield. I'm guessing that that's what that was for. I thought that had already been approved a while back, so I'm just wondering what the details are on that. Number two, have there been any decisions made regarding programming adjustments that would impact our space that could be shared at this time? And lastly, number three, has any progress been made in working towards a solution if the answers to both number 1 and 2 are no? And Dr. Hibbs, while we do appreciate that this has literally fallen into your lap and that you have already been as proactive as possible even before your official start, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the stress levels of our staff and that any ability to address this sooner than later would go a very long way with our teachers. And it would allow for a better mental reset entering the summer planning period for next school year. So thank you.
Thank you. I think Dr. Hibbs is going to address some stuff at the very end, correct? Okay. Sarah
Hello, my name is Sarah Figueroa. I'm the Youth Services Supervisor at the Margaret E. Hagan Public Library. And I'm just here to remind everybody that we have an extensive summer reading program planned for the students of Washington Township. So beginning on June 12th, families and students can register in the library for our summer reading program all together now. They can begin logging what they're reading. You can also listen to audiobooks and keep track of those. The more students read, the more prizes that they can get. Prizes include ice cream coupons, books, and gift cards. And we're bringing back our very popular summer reading necklace, where students can read to earn beads to add to their necklaces, as well as prizes. Not only are we rewarding students for reading, but we have a wide array of programs available to support summer learning. Our programs kick off with the South Pacific Island Dancers on June 22nd. We also have planned this summer art classes, crafts, science, story times, an escape room, and a lot more. Our Washington Township families will especially enjoy our truck night on July 19th at 6:30 p.m., where they can come to the library and see all kinds of commercial vehicles and get to touch them and climb in them and play around with them, so that will be a lot of fun. We have programs for children birth through teen, and we have adult summer reading programs as well, so you can visit our library website, hagenlibrary.org, for more information. We love partnering with the schools and the school district, and we're happy to come and visit any schools that would want us to come. And any classroom that would have us. As soon as the summer reading assignments are made available to us, we're happy to stock all the books to help support those assignments. And we just hope that you guys will encourage all your students to visit us and to get their library card. And also, any employee of a Washington Township school is eligible to receive a Margaret E. Hagan free library card no matter where they live. So it's a great opportunity. If you work at the school, you don't have to be a teacher. You just have to bring your pay stub and your ID, and you can get a library card. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ron Lucarini?
Welcome, Dr. Hibbs. My condolences to the fact that I was watching the last meeting, and they didn't even give you one meeting without the politics and the nonsense starting, the posturing. And I see it tonight, too, with this thing about the benefits. I'm going to get to that later. But let's go to last meeting. A woman got up here who is a public figure because she was former board president. And with the exception of lawyers where they say, how do you know they're lying? Their lips are moving. Well, I think that applies to her as well. She got up here and started talking about the National Honor Society. I have no horse in the race with that one way or the other. I had one daughter that was on the National Honor Society and another that wasn't. It doesn't matter to me. But I got a concern because I think it brings up a broader concern. She mentioned a student in a Facebook post who is the daughter of a board member. And then she came up here and talked about it. And so anybody that's in the know knows exactly who she's talking about. And I just think that, sometimes we should keep the students off the charts with their politics. But she knows no bounds. She has no filter, this woman. But the thing that got me was, after she got done talking, I received few emails from people who were in support of the National Honor Society and the way it's done at the high school, supposedly. All right? That it's totally objective. That, you get a 95 or a 90, whatever the average is, and you did X amount of hours of community service, and it's verified, and you're in. Okay, that's the end of the story. There's no subjective aspect to it. Well, there is a subjective aspect that I already know about. You have to get recommendations from 2 teachers. But I assume that the kids who are applying for this aren't stupid enough to go to a teacher who they had problems with. So I'm going to assume that they got, if they get the 2 recommendations, there's nothing really negative in there that would make the advisor or the council or this group that's sort of like the Wizard of Oz, from what I understand. Nobody knows who they are or whatever, to go against them. All right? So, barring that, where's the subjectivity? Well, I hear that the community service hours not just have to be verified, but they also have to include diversity, okay? Diversified community service hours. That's ridiculous. okay? You could do 25 hours of community service in 20 different things, and it's all meaningless nonsense. Whereas another kid could spend all his time at the Ronald McDonald House or whatever and be doing 50 hours there, and he gets thrown out because it's not diversified. So there is subjectivity to it. And then I had also heard through the grapevine that when the policy change that we wanted to put in that this woman was objecting to because she likes the status quo, because the status quo is all politics around here, was the fact that if the kid appeals because maybe there's a person who's an advisor, and I don't know who the advisors are, so I'm not speaking to that, but there's somebody in the mix who doesn't like that kid, and they're off, and they're using this subjectivity to keep them off, all right? The board put in a policy, which, by the way, I think coincides exactly what the National Honor Society says to do, which is to go right through the appeal. I went on the somebody sent me their website page, that they go to appeal, and then ultimately it can go to the superintendent. And even if it goes to the superintendent, you could have, something against the kid or the family, the mother. Maybe the mother's on the school board, and you don't like the mother who's on the school board, all right? So then you can be challenged as well. I forget what the policy was there, all right? But it just seems to be, I guess my question is, I think that the young lady needs an apology, number one, and I don't think you need to give it. I think this woman should be giving it. But I do care about the fact that it's maybe opened up a can of worms. Maybe she did us a favor. Is there subjectivity to this? Did these counselors or advisors keep kids off of there who had the 90 average or the 95 average, who had the community service hours? Did they keep them off? Did you research this? Because if they did, they got to go. Thank you.
Okay. Tom Baldessaro? Dr. Hibbs is going to answer questions, I believe, at the end.
Hello, everyone. First of all, my heart goes out to the parents at Wedgwood. Our daughter was at Wedgwood. We didn't experience anything close to that, but I can tell you we had our challenges. We've had quite a few challenges throughout our time, and the overarching thing is the lack of accountability and the lack of putting students first. That's been there. And it's a shame because there are a lot of great teachers in this district. The lack of accountability has mostly been up top, even at this board, which I've talked about in the past. When you think about it, when the things that I've put out in the past, that the board protecting adults, and that's what, not a lot of you up here, but some of you, that's what you did. And that's what happened here, and it should never happen. We're here for children. We're here for our staff, and we're here. I'm glad we celebrated some today. But there's a problem. The culture's not good here. People are afraid to speak up, and this is what you get. And it's very disappointing to hear. Again, I applaud the courage of the people who came up and spoke. You guys did it wonderfully. You're stronger than probably a lot of people. And the way you did it was very impressive, and you did keep the emotion out of it for the most part. And then we had a young lady. I don't know anything about the SACs, I really don't. But I know you had some discussion last week. I know Mr. Ross wants more. We got 2, we got less. We need more transparency around here. You cut FTEs or people. We don't know whether that's right sizing, whether it was because we had to, because we need those people, but we can't afford them. I've talked about, what benchmarking do we do? What's our revenue per student? What's our expense per student? I graduated from here a long time ago, and the class sizes aren't much bigger right now than they were when I graduated. But we got way more schools and way more administrators. I'm going to ask, I know you're brand new, can we get some benchmarking? Can we get something that will transparently show how we compare to other districts? I tend to think that our revenue is pretty good when we compare it to other schools. And I bet you our expenses are probably higher too. So there's going to be more pain in the future. And I think it's important that you set the expectation now. Don't just cut 12 people this year, 12 people next year. You got to be able to look ahead and say, here's where we're headed. You know, what goals are you going to set? When I think about what I heard here tonight with these students, what goals did we set for that program? I've heard all kinds of issues over the years with IEP plans not being followed. Who's paying attention? Whose job is it to make sure that they're being enforced? You know, not every person that has an IEP has special needs either. There's all kinds of people that have issues over the years. You know, I've seen supervisors not paying attention to what goes on with their teachers. And again, I could go on and on about the issues that we've been experienced, but I don't want to minimize what's been said here tonight. There's just a problem. And I do hope, Dr. Hibbs, that you will get to it, that you will make sure that there is accountability for everyone. It's not about the adults. It's about doing what's right for our students first, our staff, because we can't do anything without our staff. And there's just been a lot of wrong things done at the administrative level, and I look forward to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Colleen Baldessaro?
I'm just going to reiterate from my email of May 10th. I'm not going to bother with the board stuff because I know you have pressing information here that you need to present. But it just goes to NHS and how things are being breached and they're out in the public. What are we doing here that we're not putting kids first? This is horrible. $163 million budget you just voted on, and this, and now this. I mean, when's this stuff going to end? Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any more yellow cards. I just want to make sure. We have a second public comment, but I don't have any more. So, motion to close the public?
So moved.
Okay.
You're on.
Hi, everybody. Okay. For Connie, Justina, and Allison, thank you for speaking. Thank you for meeting and speaking with me. I wish I would have met you under different circumstances. What I conveyed to you is that we would do a full investigation, which I can't talk about here, but I hope you all left knowing that I would do my due diligence. I know you just met me, and I will absolutely do that. The board, I can't speak for the board, but what the sentiment here is that, you know, everyone here takes any concern of harm to a child very seriously. Dr. Contino Jackson, that I can't talk about personnel in public. That's just not something that I'm really allowed to do in any way, shape, or form. I have to just stop that right there. Matt, I'll come see you. We'll talk about basketball courts and maybe layout and see what we can do. Sound like a fair plan? Yep. Who's your favorite basketball player? All right, good call. Like it. 23, baby. Go for it. And if you want to follow your dreams, watch Air and figure out how much money he makes a year off of Nikes. Any idea how much it is?
Like $100 million?
$400 million per year off of his Nike endorsement. You know who helped him do that, by the way? You know who helped him do that? His mom. I'm guessing that's mom right there?
That's mom.
Mom. Okay. Melissa, I think some are mine and some are not mine. On this agenda is going to be, you know, part of the installation package for her fill. Last time, is Melissa still here? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry. You know, last time I was with you guys, we talked about the fact that I would come back and talk about what that would look like with you, and I know you mentioned that, and I appreciate that. That's still my intention. So I think when we know what that is and what real time frames will be, I will share them with you, and we will share them with you. As far as the program adjustments, we're not in that spot yet, so we can't talk about that yet. But again, when we know, we will 100% share with you. I heard the concern from the staff at that meeting. Just, you know, I heard it, I saw it, I felt it. I understand the need. You will hear from me before year end. I will come over and talk to everybody, and I'll tell you exactly. I hate the word transparency, really, I really do, but I will talk to you in an open manner about where we are and where we're going. Some things are under our control and other things aren't, but I'll be happy to talk to you about that, okay? And then any solutions, we can talk together. Summer reading, if we didn't get that information to Kathy, I think that's great to do. I think that's, I'm not sure if we put that out. Is Kathy in there or not?
No.
No. Is summer reading still here? Left? Okay, moving on from summer reading.
Hey, Dr. Hibbs?
Yes.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but through IA, I know I can't speak for the board, but if I get the okay, could I reach out to her and kind of see what kind of programs she may have to offer us?
I mean, you're
Can I
chair
do that?
of IA, right?
Yeah, can I do
Yeah,
that?
certainly, and run that through IA, and we can put that back
I'll
out
reach
to the
her and
community.
see what sounds good and what
Yeah.
we'll be able to bring over.
Libraries are fantastic for
Yeah,
kids,
it seems like a
right?
great resource we're not using.
Fantastic for kids. Ron, nice to meet you in public, finally. I'm not being sarcastic. I mean, I don't do that. I'm always a straight shooter. I agree with you. We should never speak about a child in any way, shape, or form. Shame on that. Period. I'll leave it right there. Let's talk about subjectivity and in whatever that is. I'm going to answer that question by just saying what I did. So I received probably 5 to 7 emails from community members whose kids did not make National Honor Society. So as a superintendent, we asked some questions and I assigned some tasks, which would be for all the kids that were not approved, I asked to see the why of it for every child. So we're gonna sit down as a group and just talk about it so I can come back to the group and say, listen, we were fair and it was all above board, because I feel like when I'm questioned about things, what you're always gonna get from me is the honest truth. If I can't talk about something, I'm gonna say I can't talk about it. However, if you say to me, Hibbs, did you look into this? The answer is always gonna be, I'm gonna look into it, because that's what I'm gonna do. You'll learn right away that I always do what I say I will do, and I always believe. I'm going to skip to Tom for a second and then come back to you, Ron. Tom talked about the concept of accountability and putting kids first. I really don't think there's 2 more important things that we can do, right? What do we teach our kids? I tell you what I teach my 3, and accountability is one of the big ones. And to be very honest with everybody in this room, I'm not even worried about mistakes as long as mistakes aren't catastrophic, because there's not one person in this room who hasn't made a mistake, right? We teach our kids to fail forward. Go make mistakes, go try, right? But if you do things that are inappropriate, you have to be held accountable. That's just how it goes. And I think there should be fair measures for accountability, and that's who I am as a leader. May not make me some friends at times. However, we all are here for children, and it's really an inescapable passion that we all need to have, that at the end of the day, no matter what we talk about up here or in the community or on Facebook, which I truly don't look at, I hate Facebook, is all about children. And that's what we should be, period. All day long, every day of the week, and twice on Sundays. So Ron, going backwards, I asked Dr. Greger, to put together the whole thing. The high school is going to put it together so we get to that and look at it, and then I can come back and say quantifiably, it was a fair up and up process across the board. That's my goal, and we will look into that. It's going to be a heavy lift. It's going to be a heavy lift, but we're going to get it done. Madam President.
Okay. Motion to approve the report of the superintendent, items 1 through 3.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Mayo?
Yes.
Mr. La Liberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Tomzak?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Chilla?
Yes. All right, moving on to instructional affairs, Motion to approve items 1 through 3.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question.
1 second, Scott, first go.
Just on I-1, starting about the scholarship, which I think is a great idea. And it gave criteria within there, talked about scholarship, some of which, talk about like first-generation college students, those focusing on counseling. Given this is being paid or funded funded by just all Washington Township alumni asking for their transcript. Are we gonna like rotate that criteria, to do other types of groups, or is it just gonna be focused on counseling going forward?
That's a great question. I don't have the answer for that right now. Can I get that back to you?
Sure.
Okay. Make sure I understand it. Are we going to rotate the criteria, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Unless, Jen, unless you can take that, right? It ran through Jen, do we have an answer to that or no?
Microphone.
I had responded to Scott in his.
Hold on one second, Jen, just so we get microphone.
I had actually responded to Scott previously when he asked this question. So that criteria is a sample criteria that we have right now, and it could vary from year to year depending on the people that we have available. So for instance, the criteria that we set forth on the proposal, it indicated that it would be somebody in the realm of psychology, counseling, and so forth, maybe in that mental health field. But we also have to take into consideration of who's pursuing that particular year. Because it's money that we collected through the counseling office, we wanted to keep it, in that, major that a student would choose. If there isn't a major that year, then maybe we can rework it, maybe something similar to the field or education or so forth. So the counselors in the counseling office will be able to, depending, varying from year to year, but we'll make sure that we do the best, that we can to select a great recipient. And the money that we collect, if we do end up, because we can roll over the money, we might be able to also select more than one recipient. So that could be a possibility too. It's a really nice opportunity that we can actually take the money and use it for students.
Thank you. Connie?
Yeah, I have a question on number 2. I think it's a great idea that we're using the ESSER funds to provide some counseling to our students during the summer. Hopefully this is going to be a very good program that maybe the board will consider funding in the future. But here's a concern that I have, and I brought it up, but I don't see anything necessarily has changed. I guess about a year ago, the board approved money for counselors at the high school to help out with state testing. And there was a figure on the board agenda, $5,000 up to $5,000. I just had no idea when I voted on that it was going to be 80 hours per person to right up to that $5,000. So here's the point I'm trying to make now. And when I brought it up, I was told, well, you voted for it. And that's true, I did vote for it. So this is why I'm bringing this up now. This program lists the amount of counselors that you want to use and what they're going to be paid. My point is this, in concept, I absolutely want to approve it, but it's going to be need-based. And there's going to be a survey that's going to be given out, and based on that survey and looking at attendance and looking at scores and academics, et cetera, we're going to be able to decide on a needs base how many kids are actually going to participate. So that being said, how can we say we're going to have this many counselors at this school and at this middle school without even knowing what the needs are? My feeling is that agreeing to this money right now, for me, I'm having a hard time with. I think you need to come back and let us know after you do your assessment what you actually need. As a board member, I'm having difficulty when we're given like a credit card. This is how much you can spend, and then we don't really find out till after the fact how much was really spent. That's my point I'm trying to make with this. I think it's great, it's fantastic, but I don't want to approve money ahead of time without knowing what you really needed. I don't know if that makes sense to any of my fellow board members or not, if you want to chime in or what.
Well, I think you have to plan accordingly and have the money kind of encumbered to be spent for the service, right? So you have a PO or a purchase order, you have a blanket amount of money, and then you deduct from there about how many services you need. I think if we wait too long until we know the number, we may not have the staff, and we have to approve the staff. So I think the point is to have the service approved to the staff members, and then when we know how many students are there, then divvy up the students to make, you know,
How do we know how many staff we need if it's needs-based, okay? How do we know that ahead of time?
I think the most important thing here, and I'll be very honest about this, and I know you feel the same way, I hope we spend every dime of this money. I really do, because these are the kids that really need our support. So what we have here is a sketch, right? So this sketch ran through IA, and really, the sketch can drive left, the sketch could drive right. We may not need 3 middle school counselors, maybe we need 2. So the whole concept is that we need your approval to just move ahead to do this piece of it, and we'll come back to you and tell you what those kids are. I mean, we're not gonna, we're gonna have a needs assessment of the kids. We'll come back to you and say, we have this many kids, here's what it's really gonna look like. But we need to get everything in motion so that, and I think Stacy said it best, we gotta get it posted, we gotta get it up, we gotta get staff interest, and then we know where we are. We may not need this. I might come back to you and say, we need more. We might need more. And I understand your point. You want accountability, I think, Connie. You want accountability for your time, right? Jen, did I summarize that correctly? Please.
So this is the 3rd year we're going to be offering this, and so we have a general idea of the amount of students, and of course it can vary from year to year, the needs. This is ESSER funds, so this is specific to mental health and social emotional counseling, so that will be provided. We do have counselors who are interested per level, and they will be able to cover the needs of the students. And that is, it could be mental health, but a lot of times that does overlap to academic needs and other needs as well, even career pathways.
Okay, I just want to add something. It's like having a budget. You have this much money to spend, and so you might not need it all, but if you do, it's there. Yeah.
And it's the ESSER, just so everybody understands too, we were allocated money through ESSER, many different rounds, and I think most of them, if not all of them, had the mental health component, right? So this money has to be pigeonholed for solely mental health. But I mean, how about this? We will be happy to come back to the board. We will tell you what the final number of the kids are. And even in IA, we talked about keeping track of basic data on types of conversations, not the conversations that we had, so we could talk about whether or not it was a worthwhile, or Tom mentioned the concept of benchmarking to look at that. And I do agree with you, Connie, because we had this in my previous district, and we tried to keep it going all the way through, because there's kids that really need to talk to someone in the summer about a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 110% behind it. It's as you mentioned, Stacy, you have to get the staff. Well, hey, I've worked here. You find out who's interested, and you have a list. Okay, you may not, maybe you'll get it, and maybe you won't. I don't think you don't have to do that. Wait for that. Also, I think when I go back to the counselors at the high school with the state testing, once we approved the money, my understanding was they were told, okay, you got 80 hours. Just took it 80 hours. My thing is, how many hours did you really need? It's about accountability, yes, absolutely. So, that's where I'm coming as a board member. I don't want to approve money unless, and especially on a needs basis ahead of time, unless I know what it is you really need.
Yeah, I had a similar question on it, Connie. I think just, it'd be good to know what the estimate was from last year, and if we have any anticipation of what it would be this year, and what the approximate cost would be, just so we see how we're taking from those ESSER funds, because they're not unlimited funds. So I'm okay, could we contingently approve this with you coming back to us with the, needs-based assessment, how many you think, and what the cost of the program would be?
Yeah, Jen, right? That's totally reasonable request, right? Yeah, certainly.
I had asked the question, when is this survey going to be done? I didn't get the answer.
Yes, you did.
When was it, the end of this month?
Yeah, I had answered last week.
You have it all figured out by June, I guess, then, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But that's only one part of it. We do take other data points into consideration as well.
And I'm guessing recommendations from staff are a
Of
big part
course.
of this as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really happy about that, because we have a policy on surveys. So I was thinking about that. What about the parent that did not sign for their kid to take a survey? So I'm glad there's multiple criteria.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. I'm probably not going to be able to come back to you and say we have 172 children, 100%, and then have that be where it is. I'm going to give you the best information I physically can. Does that make sense?
Like, hey, we think it's,
Yeah.
give us an up to, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's say it's,
Yep.
I think it's 170, say up to 200 or whatever a reasonable number is, at least
No
we've got an
problem.
idea.
And I think it's important to know too, and I don't know how long you can play on the new card, but they're paid, the staff are paid a per diem rate, right? We're obviously not gonna have right, John, am I right? We're not gonna have one kid on a slate for a day. We're gonna, we're gonna put kids into the right slots.
You know, some of the teachers get paid hourly, not in this particular situation. There are teachers that come in and do, when we used to do summer school, they didn't get per diem. So the bottom line is, if the person's getting per diem, are they working a full day with?
We'll give you all that data.
Yeah.
Jen, you're on making sure I get all that data. Thank you.
Okay, just real quick though, Scott, you made a mention to contingently approve. I don't know, we're either gonna have to approve or not if we're asking Dr. Hibbs to come back and give us that information because we're approving it on the basis of knowing we'll have more information. But I don't think we can make like a contingent approval. That's why I just wanna, Adam, I'll ask you just for clarification.
Yeah, my recommendation would be that to the extent because there are so many moving parts and things that need to be kind of set in motion, I would recommend that if you're inclined to approve it, you just approve it with the understanding in good faith that Dr. Hibbs will be coming back to the board to provide information. And look, at some point, if the information doesn't match up with what the board members want to do, you can always pass a resolution to, I hate to use the word, defund and or stop that program. But I don't, I suspect that won't be a likely outcome.
Thank you. Any other questions from board members on instructional affair items?
Just had a comment. Good to see the SAT review program, and just to confirm so everybody hears it right, that's eligible to any Washington Township high school student, correct?
Yeah, right.
That's great. Take advantage of it.
Yeah. All right. Any other discussion? All right, if not, roll call for items 1 through 3 under instructional affairs.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Mayo?
Yes.
Mr. La Liberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Tomzak?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Chilla?
Yes. All right. Moving on to policy. Motion to approve item number 1 for a second reading, and also motion to amend policy number 2440.2, summer programs, tutoring for credit, and also to motion to amend policy 5850.1, senior trip and dance prom requirements. Regulation?
Yeah.
Sorry, they're both regulations. Sorry. Motion to amend regulations 2440.2 and 5850.1.
Could you say which is which again?
Sure, I'm sorry. The regulation 2440.2 is summer programs and tutoring for credit. Regulation 5850.1 is senior trip and dance prom requirements. Discussion. Did I get a second for the motion? I don't know if I did, hold on a second.
So moved.
Okay, there we go. Discussion. Ralph?
Wait,
Who's the first?
Who was, wait, hold on.
No one seconded.
Okay,
Second.
perfect. Stacy, Scott. Sorry. Ralph?
Yeah, I have a question on this regulation 5850, senior trip and prom requirements. Am I allowed to talk about this, the specifics that we did? It seems to me that we're changing this because there was some inappropriate things that happened on the senior trip. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Dr. Hibbs. And because some kids were penalized, you want to change the policy to kind of do away with that. I want to say that I've been in this district 40 years. My kids went to school here, my grandkids went to school here, and they all knew when they went on a senior trip, because they had a senior meeting with the parents and the kids, that there were certain things you couldn't do. And if you did that and you were sent home from the trip, that you couldn't do things after that leading up to graduation. And although I commend you for looking at this policy and looking to change it, I'm concerned that you want to change it after the fact that this happened, where kids kind of violated this policy, and now you want to change it. You indicated to me or to the board that you've checked around with a lot of schools, and most of the schools that you checked with indicated that this was a harsh policy. I don't know what schools you checked with, but I can tell you the schools that I've ever been associated with, they pretty much hold to this policy. If kids get caught doing something that they shouldn't do and they're sent home, that kind of negates them going to the prom or doing certain things. And although I'm going to say perhaps the policy has to be changed, after the fact that this happened, and now you want to change the policy, I find that very concerning.
I just want to comment on that. I understand that there are students that made mistakes. I get that. And there are consequences, but what's happening is you're having double consequences for making a mistake, which all kids do. And so I don't have a problem with amending the policy for them to, can I comment on what they would lose?
Sure.
Yeah, losing the prom, definitely losing the prom. However, these students worked all through 13 grades, keeping good grades, doing the right thing all along. And so you're going to penalize them twice for making one mistake. So I do feel that this should be amended, and I think it should be amended immediately. Thank you.
I
agree.
If you're going to do it after the fact, not after the fact that the kids already did it. They knew what the punishment was. They met with the advisors. They met with the chaperones. It was laid out to them. If you do this, this, and this, you're going to be sent home from the senior trip, and this is what's going to happen to you. All their parents signed off on that. All the parents knew it. All the kids knew it. And now you want to change it.
I have to definitely agree with that. The mere fact that they knew ahead of time, and the last time we had an incident was in 2006, and maybe the policy is a good policy. People really put them on notice. I absolutely am okay to take a look at the policy in the future, but what about the fact that we had everybody acknowledge it, they understood that's what was going to happen, and they signed off on it, and to change it ahead of time, I got a problem with that.
Yeah, I agree with that, Connie. I think I'd be okay with us looking at it in policy committee going forward, but I think the policy was in place, everybody knew what they were getting into, and, you know, there's a lot of kids that go on that senior trip, and it's a lot for the administrators and the chaperones to have to keep them all safe, and in order for that to happen, you know, they need to play by the rules. They can create, you know, fortunately, nobody got hurt when that happened. So, you know, I think when we look at that in policy, we got to consider if we lighten it, are we going to be inadvertently maybe encouraging stuff? So I don't want to take that lightly. We can look at it in policy, but I don't think we need to change it. We should change it tonight.
Anybody else?
Yeah. I just want to go back to the number one, the National Honor Society. Just some clarification. Like I said last meeting, I abstained because I wanted to get some information, and maybe Dr. Hibbs, you can help me with it right now.
Sure.
When you look at the national norms for National Honor Society, you have the faculty, then you have the principal. So if somebody appeals, they go to the advisor goes to the faculty that's involved, the committee, and the principal's carbon copied on it. Now, based on what I'm reading here with the national norms, the principal would be the one that could either send it back to the faculty or make a decision to deny it. Then it can be appealed to the superintendent. That's one thing. The second thing is that I'm reading, and it says maybe Adam can join in here, that there's an exception in New Jersey. In New Jersey, law says that if you're denied acceptance into the National Honor Society, you have a right to know why. I didn't see that in our policy, that we have to tell the reasons why. So do we or don't we? Does the principal deny at that level?
Ms. Baker, I'm not aware, as I sit here right now, of any laws in New Jersey that are applicable by the state legislature to National Honor Society. Perhaps it's guidance that National Honor Society gives because of an issue that has been raised perhaps in a district in New Jersey, but as I sit here now, I'm not aware that our state legislature has taken any legislative action regarding membership in National Honor Society, but I'm certainly happy to look into the issue for you.
Yeah, I'll let you know. It's I'm reading the
I have a
process, and it says that while commentary exists regarding the fact that there are no regulations reporting the given reason, in parentheses, with the noted exception of New Jersey, where a chapter must identify the criteria that was used and the basis for not selecting. So it clearly says that in New Jersey, we should be telling the kids when they're not accepted why. And my question is, I didn't see that on the policy. And maybe we should put this policy on hold and put it back to the policy committee, that maybe there's some things that we need to take a look at beyond what we're already looking at.
Ms. Baker, I'm looking at a screen on Dr. Hibbs's computer, which appears to be perhaps a guidance document, perhaps from the Department of Education. Like I said, it appears to be guidance, not law. Certainly, I can look at this issue to see what the underlying issue was in New Jersey that sparked this guidance. But as I sit here now, I'm not prepared to provide any detailed discussion on it.
Is it appropriate to make a motion that we put this on hold until we get some of this information and look at it in policy?
Is there a motion on the floor?
No, I mean, can I make a motion?
Oh, certainly, you can
I
make
just
a
want to
motion.
make a motion that we put it on hold till the attorney can look into that information about students knowing, what the criteria was and what was the criteria that they broke, that they didn't get into the...
One other thought, Ms. Baker, and that is, I mean, I don't want to hold anything up that the board might be considering, but the idea that if we're required in New Jersey for some reason, whether it be through guidance from the commissioner or otherwise, if it turns out that we're required to give a reason, retroactively, we certainly can just give a reason should that pass tonight. So it could just be an additional step that we go through, depending on whether or not, the reason for that guidance to be put out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess part of my thinking is, it's over with, okay? This is not a pressing matter that we have to have the decision by next month. Why not put it on hold and back to the policy committee?
And that's certainly something that the board can consider and certainly do if that's the will of the board.
Okay, so I like to go on record, make a motion that we put it back into the policy committee so we get additional information to make additional corrections if necessary, since it's not a pressing matter.
A second.
All right. Discussion? Yeah.
So is there any harm?
There's a motion and a second. There's a motion and a second. Discussion.
Yes, discussion. If it was a legal matter like this, New Jersey state law, wouldn't that typically be something that Strauss would send to us with their updates?
Yeah, typically Strauss Esme, for those of you who don't know, Strauss Esme is a clearinghouse, if you will, of board policies and regulations, and it's Strauss Esme that the district has, I'll call it a subscription with, To the extent that there are any policy updates that need to be made as a result of changes in the legislation, Strauss Esme will send out policy alerts, and the board will consider at times updating policies based upon new legislation or developments that might have come out. As I sit here now, I'm not aware of any policy updates of recent from Strauss Esme with regard to membership in National Honor Society.
Do we have a copy of what Strauss Esme has for National Honor Society? They have like a boilerplate, and then also the district can create their own. Do we have a copy of what they suggest?
To the extent that they've suggested anything, certainly that would be in your board policies. To the extent you can access them from the district's website, certainly many, if not most, districts have the capability to go onto the board's website, open up the policy, bylaws, regulations page, and then you could do a search from there to see if there's, what, if anything, is applicable to the search words that you put in.
Dr. Gregg?
So Strauss Esme does not have a policy that addresses NHS at all. The same numbered policy for them is about general student recognition, and I have not found another district that actually has an NHS policy. They all default to the bylaws that they've adopted at the local chapter.
Yep. Yeah.
Is there anything, Dr. Hibbs and
Yeah.
Carol, anything that if we approve it tonight as is, and then something comes up that we want to add, that we can't add to it moving forward? Or once it's done, it's done?
The whole
We can
process.
just change it, correct?
Yeah, the whole process, I think, is underway of being looked at too.
Right.
This was one small.
Yeah, so I say if we approve it tonight, and then as we move forward and learn more, we can adjust it accordingly.
And just to go backwards, I'll be very transparent about my thought processes. I'm not suggesting this change because of consequences. I'm suggesting this change because I think the policy on the books is bad for kids, period. Not one person in here we can't, and none of us can say that we haven't made a mistake in our lives. Those of you who are 48 like me, we grew up in a time where there was no social media, right? And we were probably lucky in a lot of ways, right? These kids are growing up in a different time frame. It's not a lack of accountability. I mean, these kids receive suspensions, they had disciplinary consequences, they're gonna lose prom. I don't think there's any need to take away graduation, and I will go on the record as stating it is bad for children.
It's
Period.
unreasonable.
That's my feeling, and I respect everybody else's feelings. Those are mine. And as an educational leader, that's my job, is to look at that and say, listen, I don't think it's good for kids. And I'm respecting everybody at the dais. I did check in with a lot of schools. I called the superintendent of a 10,000 kid school district and asked him what loses graduation for you, and the response was an act of God. I called a local high school principal who was one of my really good friends. When's the last time you took away graduation? 15 years ago, maybe. So listen, and this, just to be clear, this just provides me the flexibility to allow a decision. It doesn't necessarily mean there will be a decision every time. To me, what this policy should say is something like, kid loses prom, gets put on a contract, looking at the overall disciplinary nature of the child, and then a final decision is made for graduation. I just think this is an injustice for kids. I think they paid a hefty price, and I think they made mistakes, and I'm not excusing mistakes. That's my response.
So we have a motion and a second about NHS.
Actually is in the policy.
I think we're conflating two issues.
Two issues.
We currently have a motion, we currently have a motion on the table equally as important. But as quasi-parliamentarian here, I just want to remind everybody that we have a motion on the floor with regard to removing the NHS action from the board's agenda. So we had a motion.
Pass the policy as is tonight, and we discover there's something else we need to update, we can.
Okay, but we have a motion and a second to suspend. So we have to vote on that, right? So we're gonna vote right now on.
Yes vote suspends it.
So,
Yeah,
if
a
I could
yes
just make it
vote
clear.
suspends.
If you vote yes, you're suspending or tabling the item regarding NHS. If you vote no, that just means that the NHS action, proposed action, is still in consideration for tonight. So a yes yanks it, a no keeps it on the floor, on the agenda. I apologize.
Okay.
Good job, Matt.
All right. Roll call. Let's do this first.
Mr. Mayo?
No.
Mr. La Liberty?
No.
Mr. Lindsay?
No.
Mr. Tomzak?
No.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker? Yes. Mrs. Clancy?
No.
Mrs. Chilla?
I'm going to abstain.
Could you tell us why you're abstaining?
Well, I'm abstaining from the last meeting, or the first. I'm going to abstain again on the second reading. All right.
Cap on the 2440, which is the summer programs tutoring for credit. That one basically is to, right now, the current policy says that a student may not enroll in a makeup course if the grade earned during a regular school year was less than a grade of 60.
Yes, sir.
So we're moving to strike that so that if you got less than a 60, you can make up the class. Seems there's quite a few students that fall into that category. We don't know why, right? So Dr. Hibbs has talked about trying to dig into that. So, you know, I'm going to be voting yes to that so that we can open it up, but also with the understanding that Dr. Hibbs is going to dig into that, understand why we have so many students falling into that, and hopefully remediate the root cause of that issue.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? All right. Again, we're going to do items number 1, and then can I just couch it as the 2 regulations? If someone wants to independently say no, state the regulation that you're saying no to. So if you need my help in prompting what regulation you're saying no to, I'm happy to provide. Yes? Does that work? All right. Did I just confuse you? I'm sorry.
Is it all 3 that we're doing?
I was going to do them separate. I was going to do item number 1, and then the 2 regulations. Okay?
Item number 1's the National Honor Society.
Correct. Item number 1 is as stated on the agenda. Okay? All right.
And what are we voting for? Yeses or what?
Well, I don't know what you're voting yes to.
So with regard to policy item number 1, that's the second reading for Regulation 5440, National Honor Society. So a yes would be amending the policy, a no would be leaving it as it is.
And then the 2 regulations, 2440.2 and 5850.1. So when you get to your vote, if you want clarification as to what you're saying yes and no to, I'm happy to give it. All right? Roll call.
Mr. La Liberty?
I get to go first, all right. So,
Shows how it's done.
there we go. I'm a yes to 5440, which is the National Honor Society policy. I'm a yes to 2440, which is the summer programs and tutoring for credit. I'm a no to the change for the senior trip and dance prom requirements.
Sorry.
What, is that a number that is no?
It's just no to 5850, the regulation.
Okay, he didn't say that.
It's actually,
I wrote it all out.
Item number 1.
I hate to be a stickler, but it's actually Regulation 5850.1.
Yep. You can be a stickler.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lindsay?
A yes to Resolution 5440. I'm a yes to Resolution 2440.2, and I am a no on Resolution 5850.1.
Do we have to correct and say regulation, or does it matter?
That's all right.
Mr. Tomzak?
Yes.
To all 3?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
I'm a yes, yes to the National Honor Society. I'm a no to Regulations 2440, although I agree with the rationale, but at the last minute to change it, I'm a no for that. And I'm a definite no for the regulation change of policy 5850. And I'll say to you as a side note, if this passes, good luck getting chaperones.
Okay. Mrs. Baker?
5440, I'm going to abstain.
2440?
Pardon me?
Oh, NHS, I'm sorry.
5440, I'm going to abstain. Need more information. Regulation 2440.2, I'm a no, last minute decision. And 5850.1, a no.
All right, Mrs. Clancy?
Yes to all three.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes to all three. I think they're all in the best interest of the kids.
Mrs. Chula? I'm going to abstain on 5440, and I'm a yes to 2440.2 and 5850.1. Can we recap what passed and what didn't? Would you mind, Elaine? Okay, so for the first one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses, it looks like. So sorry, 5440 passes. And then how about 2440.2? Okay, let's see.
Yes.
1, 2. Yeah, fine. Do you have them written in, because I'm trying to look at this roll call sheet here, and it's.
For the summer trip, for the,
I start at the
Summer
bottom.
program tutoring for credit.
I have 6 yeses.
1, 2,
3, 4.
Yeah, me too.
3,
6.
4, 6.
Okay.
5. Okay, so 2440.2 passes, which is the summer programs tutoring for credit. And then how about 5850.1, senior trip and dance prom requirements?
4.
Okay, so that does not pass,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
What was the count on that? What was the count?
4. 4 yeses.
4?
Yep, we did.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let's move on to student activities, communications. Motion to approve items 1 through 3.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Discussion. Roll call.
Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, I got answers, but I'm looking them up. So I just had a question on, oh, okay, so I thought some of those were the age of the request. It looked like some were from like 2022 and 2021. It says the medical. Can you maybe explain that?
Which one? Which one?
K1,
Alternative school placements.
like some are really old. But do we ever revisit like the medical codes or stuff like that? Like some are like 3 years old.
Yeah, the medical code covers a variety of things, including emotional states. The students are reevaluated every year at the midpoint and at the end, and usually about 2/3 either graduate or are transitioned back to their home school. So we start out with small numbers every September, and it's continuously monitored.
So that date was like the date they were referred? Is that what that is?
That was probably the date that they were referred, applied, had an intake interview, and so forth.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, sorry about that. All right. Anybody else discussion on student activities, communications? Hearing none, roll call. Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Tomzak?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Just want to double check, this is student activities, right? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. La Liberty?
Yes.
Mrs. Chilla?
Yes. All right, going to Human Resources. Items 1 through 11, 13 through 36, items 38 through 60, and 62 and 73.
Can you repeat the numbers again, please?
Sure. Motion to approve items 1 through 11, 13 through 36, 38 through 60, and 62 and 73. For board members that are attending the convention in the fall, that is item number 1. If you plan on attending, you should be abstaining from number 1. Right? Yeah, just in case. All right. Motion to approve?
62 through 73.
Sorry, 62, see, this is coming. 62 through 73. Sorry, guys.
So 61.
Ready? One more time, sorry. Items 1 through 11, 13 through 36, 38 through 60, and 62 through 73. Okay? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Scott, do you have something?
The L47, which is the Beable, and could you really quick, is that like an ELA program for the Beable?
Yes.
Over the summer?
Sure is. Yep.
Yeah.
ELA, definitely.
That's the same one we did last year.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
yeah.
No? Sorry.
L51, the work study. Those are, so there's a number of, they're doing clerical duties, is that correct?
Gee, I don't know.
The L51, the student work studies for the students.
So some of those are overlapping. So there were 3 that students approved for clerical work in offices.
Okay.
There are 1 or 2 who are approved to work for the IT department in helping to unbox and prepare the hundreds of devices that come in the summer, and those hours also extend into the school year.
Any other discussion?
You
got it.
There's going to be a bunch of stuff that I'm abstaining from. We talked about the first item is the board training stuff. L4 is on non-tenured teachers. That's, my wife's in there, so I'm abstaining from that. And then L7, L8, 9, and 11 will be considered my wife's supervisors, so I'm going to abstain from all them. Right, Adam?
Yes, sir. I mean, it's correct, you should be abstaining from your wife's supervisors. I can't say whether or not they are your
Well, they're
supervisors.
administrators, so
That's fine.
I'm just going to stay clear and just
Yes,
do them all.
better safe than sorry.
And then L62, I'm going to abstain from also for some.
Any other discussion? Hearing none? Roll call.
All right, first,
Mr. Tomzak?
okay, ready? I'm going to abstain from L1, D2.
The
Gonna-
numbers,
What?
do you have the numbers, the agenda item number?
L1. Right? L1, DT. L4, CT. L7, L8, L9, L11, and L62. And yes to the rest.
Good job.
Mr. Ross?
Yes to everything, no to 54 and 55.
Mrs. Baker?
Abstain, L1, initial CB. Number 4, reappointment of non-tenured certificated teaching staff. Abstain on Sharice Tolino. Just checking something here I'm going to say no to. I've got to find it.
There should be a better way of identifying it.
Might want to just use initials. I think that's sufficient. Throwing it out there. So we could just use initials.
Oh, you know what?
Right.
I think I'm fine with the rest, okay? Yes to the rest.
Okay. Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Abstain, number 1, SD, yes to the rest.
Mr. La Liberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mrs. Chola? Abstain on number 1, initials CC, and yes to the rest. Before we move on to finance, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Pamela Nathan, who's our new assistant superintendent. Congratulations. Yep. All right.
Welcome to Thunderdome.
Welcome. All right, moving on to finance. All right. Motion to approve items 1 through 55. We're holding 56.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Discussion.
You have a question on number 25? It's some clarification. This is the, I guess, the second bid hookup. Am I reading that correctly? It's $458,250, is that correct? I recall being on the business committee, what was budgeted for last year for that was $250,000. Can somebody help me out as to why, when the engineering firm gave us that price, $250,000, it almost went up 100%. What was that? What was the reason? What was the rationale? To miss it by so much?
The initial explanation was that the fire alarm system and PA system would have been more expensive in the bid than what they thought. In the rebid, those two items, if you look at the bottom, there's alternates to deduct those services to see if it would come in cheaper. Overall, it did not, because the base bid actually came in a little bit more expensive. Just look at the bottom of the sheet of the attachment. That's where the recommendation's always gonna be. So we're actually recommending to take out those two deductions for the fire alarm system and for the clock and PA system, and we're gonna do that directly through our vendor. So the amount being approved is $413,000, or the amount that's on the agenda is $413,250.
Thanks for the explanation. In general, how much is that project costing us in total? With the hookup, with the facility, everything, what are we spending on that?
It would be this contract, and the TCU was, I don't remember the exact number, it was in the $800,000 range.
Yeah, I thought $1 million, but you're saying 800,000?
For the actual unit, yes.
For the
Yes.
unit, and then another 413,000 on top of
Correct.
that?
Correct.
Have we gotten the numbers, like, from, or saying we're gonna take the alternate, have we gotten numbers from them companies yet or no? We're just gonna hope that they're lower.
They will be lower because we'll use our internal, our staff to do wiring. So it's only going to be certain parts that we're going to need from the vendor.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Discussion? Nothing?
Thank you for sending your overview of some of the things on the budget.
Sure.
Explaining what those balances were, I appreciate that.
Sure.
And also getting the increases with the contracts. Looks like most of them were very small, if any, on M33 through 51.
Okay. Roll call.
All right, well,
Oh, sorry.
excuse me, just so I'm trying to understand things here. Like, when we see the construction bill list, the first two numbers in the payment part would determine like the year, correct? Like 23-00003.
You mean under the PO number?
Yeah, the PO number, like that's when it was done, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm just confused because we talked in March and I asked for all the open door contracts and we said we didn't have any. But here's 3 for the PO from 2022. I'm just confused like where we missed each other on that.
For that particular vendor?
Yeah, like we asked if there was anything
Okay.
open for them in March, if there was anything open. It was the only thing that was open, it was this last one here. But the other 3, we never seen. So I'm just, my concern is that, you know, we use a lot of this cooperative pricing stuff now. And I feel like it's almost just like a way to circumvent the board. Like, we don't really know what's going on. Like, we don't see the bids, like, we don't know what's going on. Like, I asked about what was going on and still didn't get a good answer on it. So, like, do we post the work that we're doing anywhere? Like, do you guys have stuff? Are we gonna get it in memos? Like, what kind of work we're doing in the schools, or we just kind of, like, the only time that we see it is when it comes up in a bill.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why that can't flow through finance,
Yeah.
you know, right?
I don't see why I want it.
Sure, we do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think the other thing in business, one of the things that concerns me just is we get so many RFPs where there's one bid. And I think we really got to dig into in business and with others as to why that is. It's disheartening. So, I guess we'll put that on the agenda for business.
Anything else for under finance? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Under finance, number 6. No. Initial C big. Yes to the rest.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. La Liberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Tomzak?
Yes.
Mrs. Chola?
Yes. Moving on to special education, motion to approve items 1 through 6.
So moved. Second?
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. La Liberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Tomzak?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Chola?
Yes. All right, under negotiations, nothing at this time. New business. Any new business? Just by way of follow-up, the Student Board of Education representative will report out on the list of outstanding items at the next meeting. So she has the opportunity to meet with Dr. Hibbs, and we'll report out.
We'll meet this week, Angelina.
All right?
I did have one new business.
Go, all right, go ahead.
Got a new business. I missed it on N31. I just thought it was awesome to see the Eagles supporting the flag football for the girls. It's great to see. Just another reason to go Birds.
Yeah.
That's fun. Anything else? I have something. So this was brought up, I think a few months ago. The notion of bringing back board liaisons to schools and seeing if we can kind of, there's so many awesome things happening around all of our schools. And I think as a board, I think we do a pretty good job of trying to get to different ones. I think by nature, you end up going to a school that maybe your kid or your grandchild or, somebody that you end up going there. I just want to bring it up. We can certainly discuss it at the next meeting, but I'd like to have a more robust discussion about it and bringing that back. When I was on the board prior, we did have liaisons, and you were assigned to school, and you would just report out on things that were going on at that school. I think it's a great way for us to showcase what's happening instead of us kind of guessing here. Like in the moment, I'm always like, oh, I forgot to see what else great, what other great things were happening around the district. So I think if we can kind of take that responsibility upon ourselves and figure out what that looks like. I want to also get some guidance to everybody that if we do decide as a board that we're going to do liaisons for the school, that it's just, we have to be compliant. We can't, talk about anything regarding the board. We can't talk to staff like, hey, how's it going? It's not our job. It's really just our job to go there. We never make surprise visits to schools, nothing like that at all. If we want to go to a school for whatever reason, if it's our liaison school, it should be run through Dr. Hibbs to make him aware, to get permission to be able to go in. Oftentimes, if you're the liaison, you were proactively invited by the school principal to come in for an activity so we could report out at the board meeting. So we don't have to talk about it now. I just want to kind of bring it up to say I'd like to talk about it next meeting and make a decision on whether or not we want to do that or not. Maybe it belongs in committee with, I'm thinking, what committee? Student activities maybe, right?
Probably.
So SAC, if we could put it in there to discuss, and then we can discuss as a board if everyone thinks it's a good idea.
So essentially, say both my kids will be in high school next year. So that could be my school, and then I would just kind of stay up with what's happening and then say, oh, this month this happened, or this month this is coming up, and
Correct.
just be more aware.
And we could just talk about it as a board and just say, what school do you prefer to make it easy? If your child goes to one school or another, and that's easy. Or you may feel as though you want to go to a completely different school because you're going to be there anyway. So regardless, we can talk about it the next meeting. I just think it's a good way for us to be able to really showcase every school and the good work that they're doing instead of taking a stab at it here.
I think it's a great idea, only because, you try to get to everything and you can't.
Can't.
It's just impossible. So this makes it where there's always somebody who can bring back to the board what's happening at their school that they're a liaison for.
Connie?
I'll just comment, I commend the people on the staff that have our Facebook website, all the schools, the PTOs. I mean, you go on those sites and you can see all the things that are going on,
Agreed.
which is terrific. That was a great thing with technology, but they keep it up to date very well.
Agreed. Anybody else with new business?
We're going to discuss that next week.
Yeah, we could just discuss it at the next meeting. I just wanted to bring it up under new business for everyone to think about. If you're for the idea and want to do it, what school would you want to have if you have an allegiance to one or the other? But we could talk about it at the next meeting. Okay? Anything else for new business? No? All right. Motion to open to the public?
Second.
All right. I have Ron Lucarini.
Yeah, Dr. Hibbs, I listened to your answer. You left one little part out, though. I hope you remember James Carville. It's the economy, stupid. In Washington Township, it's the culture, okay? And you did mention, what you were going to do if report back, if everything was wonderful, and you just want to help, hopefully these kids all got rejected and it was all legitimate. You left out the part, though, what happens when you find out it wasn't? Because I'm going to tell you something. If you come back and tell me after you put Mr. Greger in charge, he is Mr. Status Quo, okay? So he's going to go research it and dig into it, and I would like somebody to tell me how Mrs. Kozempel knew that young lady's name in the first place, okay? If everything's on the up and up, then she should have never known because it's all confidential and so on and so forth. And see, to me, that's the problem with this. That's why NHS really doesn't matter to me, but that's the problem with this district overall. Reason gets thrown in the hopper when it comes to politics, all right? And I'll give you an example. We just spent $35,000 on an investigation, and I'm sure you're aware of this, into the RFP related to the lawyer and how the lawyer was giving money to the children's last group or children's first group, whatever it is, and then he had to resign, and Mrs. Kozempel was running around telling everybody who was going to be the next superintendent, the whole 9 yards. And we did a $35,000 investigation. We found out the answers, and I know for a fact that there's some guilty people there. There has to be, all right? There has to be. And we don't know who they are. We're not allowed to hear the results. So is that going to be the same thing here with these people who are going to be protected by personnel decisions, okay? So we're going to do the research. We're going to find out everything. And I can tell you right now that somebody's guilty along the way here because Mrs. Kozempel would have no way of knowing that kid's name, all right? That's just, impossible. So somebody in the school system breached the confidence and the integrity of the process, all right? And when, in fact, we find out, if I hear anything else other than somebody did something wrong along the way, you can't come back to me and tell me everything's wonderful. I'm not going to accept it. But when I do hear that somebody did something wrong, are we going to find out, well, what was the result of that? What happened with that? How are we ever going to stop this culture of ridiculous reasoning to support the stuff that goes on in this school system that is unethical and basically borders on corruption, all right? Tonight, I saw an exchange between Mrs. Baker and Mr. Ross about the benefits and this RFP. I'm not sure if that's political as well, and they're making hay over something because from what I understand, and I may be wrong, that the person who was the campaign manager or whatever for this children's last group that ran for the Board of Education, he's a broker for benefits. Okay, is that why we're bringing this up? So that he can get his he's also the head of the Democrat Party here in Washington Township, I think. I may be wrong. Maybe he's a broker for something else and not benefits. But is that why we're bringing up this argument all of a sudden? I want to find out what happened with the $35,000 investigation. I want to know who was guilty and who did what. All right? And I think the public has a right to know. And that's the only way you're going to end this culture, because when they're all protected, because, we can't mention their name, they'll sue us. Well, in that case, they're just going to keep doing what they're doing because it's been that way for years here in Washington Township. So I hope this investigation of the NHS is an honest one, and that we find out. I want to find out how she knew that kid's name. Then I'll be satisfied. All right?
Colleen Baldessaro?
He's going to comment at the end. Yeah. I'm just following up on my email of May 9th with regards to the board investigation into the pay-for-play campaign donations. I listed a ton of questions. I didn't know if I was getting any responses. And then the second question is with regards to the Wedgwood investigation. How will that get reported out? Is that just to the parents, or is that to the entire school district? Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to answer all questions at the very end, so hang tight. I have one more card. Mary Bem?
I wanted to follow up. You said correspondence. If you're responding to people, I know I've written letters and don't always get a response. I did get a phone call, but not a response from anybody on the board when I sent my letter. I am coming up about the investigation follow-up. My concern is, you talk about accountability. We haven't had accountability. It'll be a year in July that the investigation started, and pretty much we gave everything to the attorney wrapped in a big bow. It's apparent to the people that did the research, other than the interviews, we know what's going on. There's a few key people that are gone, but something big is happening that you guys just aren't willing to talk about. So it just leads everyone to believe that the BOE, people that are above the law, are above what's right and what's wrong. So where's the accountability? And I guess we know that there's policies that are not followed. So going to what you're talking about for the kids with the school trip, you talk about accountability. They need to learn somewhere consequences. I agree, maybe it does seem pretty harsh, but I know when my kids went through here, and I had 3, and 2 weren't always that easy, but I looked at them in the face, and they knew when Joe told them, if they do such and such and such, they will be sent home, and it's on their parents' dime. I looked at my kids, I said, well, guess what? You can stay until you figure it out, because I don't have the money to pay for another flight for you to get home. So when we start making decisions and changing what they're told, there is no accountability. Our accountability didn't occur on the board. You guys got to follow your policies, because when you start changing it, it sounds great, you know, oh, well, they worked so hard all these 12 years. Well, they're going to have to learn. You know, walking for graduation is a big deal, and maybe they won't make another mistake like that again. That costs everybody a lot of money. So that's just my opinion, for what it's worth. And I'd still like some answers to the investigation, because we're going on a whole year, and it's got to be pretty much tied up, so.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to you first, Adam, and then I'll have Dr.
Yes, so with regard to the investigation, make no mistake, it's been a direction from my office that the board members not comment on it, but I can tell you that while it may be disappointing, there are steps and things going on behind the scenes to try and be able to release information to the public so they know what happened, what the money was spent on, and the outcome of it. We are making efforts, and I'm going to be undertaking efforts as well, to try and clear a path for that to happen. So I understand how it's frustrating to not have heard answers and not have gotten a direct answer for, as you said, ma'am, a year. I get it. But we're also looking into ways that we can get those answers out to you in a manner that won't put the district in further exposure to liability. That is the big concern right now. And so we are trying to figure out ways to give you the answers that you deserve, but to do it in a manner that's not going to jeopardize and expose the district to further liability. That's all I could really say at this point.
Can't do it back and forth.
So I'm being told I can't go back and forth, but there will be subsequent remedial measures put in place, internal controls and otherwise. I know that it may not, again, I'm not going to tell you anything that's going to satisfy you tonight, but I want you to know that we're working on it. And again, we owe it to you to give you the answers, and the board is taking this very seriously and is in fact kind of pushing the envelope and doing things that maybe I wouldn't do, but they want to do because they want to get you the answers. So that's all I could say about it at this point. It is a serious matter. We have been going back and forth, and again, I understand that what I say here tonight is not going to give you the answers that you deserve, but just know that we're trying to work on it. That's all I can really say.
Did you want to say anything, Dr. Hibbs? I think Colin was saying. And then whoever else. Ron, look at me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've
go ahead.
made it pretty clear my stance on trying to do what's best for kids. So if what comes out is not what's best for kids, then I don't sweep stuff under the rug. I brought stuff to the board today that I thought was good for kids. That's what I did. So we're going to look into all the kids that didn't make it. I was asked a question. We're going to dig into it top to bottom, And if there's something that was wrong, we're gonna have a conversation about it, and I don't hide it, and I don't sweep it. As far as everything else goes, you know, with Wedgewood, personnel and student records, we can't ever talk about personnel. It's just not something we could ever do. Okay?
Can you conjecture on how Julie knew about that kid? Can you conjecture on that? What, do you think there is a flaw in the system? Just on the basis of that or not?
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I'll officially say we can't go back and forth, and I'll give you my best answer. My best answer is that if people have information they shouldn't have, then they have information they shouldn't have. Then the question is, how do they get that information? So what you're not gonna get from me is, look, I shoot straight and I'll play games. And
Okay. I have no more yellow cards. Motion to close to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All right, thank you, everyone.